Today we are going to discuss about subdomain takeovers, how you can do effectively subdomain takeovers that can be used for doing pen testing and bug bounties. So we are going to just start in 2 more minutes. Let's wait for a few more participants to join. Before that, I just want to say thank you to all of you who have joined for this session. I will try my level best that the next 60 minutes of the session remains very interactive and useful, as well as fruitful for every one of you, so that you learn something that will be helpful for you for your pen testing and bug bounties both. And hello, yes, hi everyone, all the participants who are dropping messages in the chat. We are going to discuss about some of the manual techniques as well as automated techniques today that will be helpful for your subdomain takeovers methodology. Also, I'm going to share a special tip for all the participants who have joined today, in which I'm going to share one of the target that is vulnerable to subdomain takeover, or you can say one of the CMS which is vulnerable to subdomain takeover, but it has not yet been documented anywhere. Okay, so you guys can definitely try to hunt for subdomain takeovers for that specific CMS as well. So that would be something new and exclusive for you guys that could be helpful for your bug bounties and pen test both. All right, so we can see that we have around 63 participants who have joined. So without further ado, I think we should begin today's session. So hello everyone, once again. Today we are going to discuss about subdomain takeovers. Subdomain takeover is a class of vulnerability which is generally considered to be very easy to be exploited, although there are some series of steps that you have to do, after which you are able to successfully claim anyone's or any target subdomain. The severity of the subdomain lies from medium to high to critical as well sometimes. It depends upon the organization's infrastructure, whether they consider this specific subdomain to be of higher priority or customer facing. For example, a subdomain like uat or dev.example.com would be considered as a low or medium priority, whereas shop.example.com, blog.example.com, login signup.example.com is considered to be a higher priority subdomain. Hence, if you get a subdomain takeover with this specific subdomain name, then your bug can also be accepted as a high issue as well. Whereas if we see in general, this is considered to be a medium or sometimes high vulnerability on different platforms. There are various different tools that will help you achieve subdomain takeovers on different types of subdomains for different CMS. In today's session, we are not going to focus about how you can run a simple automated scanner that will help you identify subdomain takeovers on target. Rather, we are going to focus on what others miss. That is, identification of the assets first to test for subdomain takeovers. For instance, if I want to hunt on a target organization, let's call it as example, the first thing that I'm going to do is, and the first mistake that I will make is, I'll try to identify subdomains for that target from a passive scanner. So for example, the first thing that we generally would do is we go to VirusTotal, identify subdomains, or we use SubFinder, find domain, identify subdomains, use those list of subdomains, and then check if how many of them are live or dead, and then basically run it through an automated scanner to validate if any of the subdomain is vulnerable or no. The first mistake lies in the step number 1 itself, wherein we are not increasing our scope to identify those subdomains which might likely be vulnerable. So the first important step is increasing your asset or increasing your scope for your target. Second, if we rerun the specific fingerprint for a vulnerable target. And if a developer has made any changes to the response that we get from that specific target, then our automated scanner would miss or skip that. So for that reason, you have to continuously update your tools, your templates, or your code so that you do not miss these types of subdomain takeovers. Also, research, which is the third and the most important step which lies, and you should know that how to identify subdomain takeovers for some of the new types of CMS, wherein it might be likely to be that if a new subdomain is lying on a specific CMS, but I don't have already a fingerprint available for that, it doesn't mean that this cannot be vulnerable to subdomain takeover. And this is how we ended up upon identification of a new CMS, which was likely to be vulnerable to subdomain takeover. And we reported few vulnerabilities on bug bounty program over Bugcrowd. All right, so we'll see and discuss all that now. So I'm going to stop share my video and I'm going to share my screen now, through which you're going to see a series of steps and my methodology that I generally use to perform subdomain takeovers. I would just request to give me 1 minute of time. All right, so we shall continue now. I can see a lot of participants have joined more. So welcome everyone once again. Okay, so let's start. The first and the most important thing for subdomain takeovers is the identification of subdomains itself. So what we are going to do is we are going to classify any given target that we have into scopes. So for example, if I have a target which is example.com, let's assume that this is the target that I'm going to do bug bounty on. And if the target scope says that star.example.com is in scope, this means that now I can perform subdomain enumeration on this specific target and identify as many as subdomains that is possible using two such techniques or two such ways. First way is passive subdomain enumeration, and second one is active subdomain enumeration. Now, what are these two techniques? Let's understand the first technique, which is passive subdomain enumeration. So in passive subdomain enumeration, we rely on passive data sets. Now, what are these passive data sets? There are different data sources which continuously crawl the internet, as well as websites or web applications and their subdomains as well. Now here, when these passive crawlers are continuously crawling the internet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a request to that specific crawler, and I'm going to ask for the results. For example, if my target is example.com, I'm going to ask one of the data source. Let's say the data source is VirusTotal. I'm going to ask VT, do you have the result for example.com if you have ever crawled it? Then VirusTotal is going to say, yes, of course. So let me show you one of such data source, which is VirusTotal. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to try to identify subdomains for any given target. So I'm going to go to search and let's try to do it for example.com. And I'm going to hit enter. Now, the first thing VirusTotal does is it shows us the output that if this specific domain is likely to be vulnerable or no, or might be hosting some kind of malicious files, JavaScript, droppers, etc. We can see the website is clear and clean. That's fine. Now I need to go to relations, and in the relations, you can see the most important thing that we wanted, which is the list of subdomains. Here you can see 2.47K subdomains has been found and has been crawled by VirusTotal. You can see the list of subdomains. For example, rss.example.com, overlord.example.com, banana.example.com. You can click over here, which will give you more exhaustive list of subdomains, for example, privatebin.example.com, and so on. So this way, you are able to identify the list of subdomains quickly and very, very easily.